In this slide cast, we're going to look at what the schedule of prices is. You'll notice in a tender document, the schedule of prices is in the middle of the tender document. However, we're presenting it right at the end. So we've already looked at the conditions of contract, we've looked at the specifications, we've looked at the drawings, and they're all part of the tender document. The schedule of prices is being presented last because it is the last thing you do, the last thing you prepare. The reason for this is because it relies on the specification and the drawings to be prepared. So the idea of the schedule of prices is that it sets out the expected measure of each operation. It's a work breakdown structure of the whole project. It's used to build up the contract price. It's a level playing field. It tells the contractors this is what we want. So along with the specification and the drawings, it means that the tenderers are all pricing on exactly the same thing. It's also referred to as the bill of quantities, the schedule of quantities, the schedule of rates. So there are all these different names, and there's slight differences between each one of them, but for our purposes they're all the same. So if you see anything like bill of quantities or schedule of quantities or anything like that, it's the same as the schedule of prices. It's important that it's accurate, logically ordered and complete, because it defines the whole project. If something is not included in the schedule of prices, it's not part of the contract agreement. So it's quite important that you make sure that it is complete. Logically ordered so people can find their way through it. It's a working document, and accurate. Once again, if you get it wrong, then there can be money involved. So let's look at each part. So the first column there is the item, sequential number. You should have that. Work breakdown structure number. Remember when we did work breakdown structures, we had a WBS number, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 and so on. That's the scheduling, that's the sort of numbering system you should have here. The next thing is the description, a brief description of the schedule item. There are different ways that this can be. I prefer to have a nice, short, concise schedule item description. Other people prefer to have a much deeper description, and we'll talk about this more in following slide casts. And then there's the measurement unit. What unit are we measuring it in? The next slide cast will look at how do we determine what that measurement unit is, because there is a standard for that. And the number of units, how many of that particular unit. So in this case, stripping topsoil and stockpiling, we've got 800 square meters of topsoil. Now these blue ones, now notice that these two next columns are actually left blank because they are filled in by the tenderers. So in the tender document that goes out to the tenderers, this is left blank because it is filled in by the tenderers. There are some exceptions. If you've got a contingency sum or a provisional sum or a prime cost, you'll fill this in, but otherwise everything else is left blank for the contractor to fill in. So that concludes what a schedule of prices is. The next lot of slide casts is we're going to talk about how do we actually prepare this